Hi, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn what a super global variable is. That could sound like a pretty scary term. I promise you it's really simple. It's really easy to kind of understand once we learn it. And this will be the beginning of our login form. We're going to go ahead and make a fully functional login form, and this is pretty much the first thing we're going to need to learn in order to start doing that. So let's erase what we did in the last video here. So we already learned a little bit about variables. We declare variables using the $sign, and we also access variables using the same $sign. So my variable, let's make a string variable, hello, and if we want to echo that out, we can access that variable going my variable. Now, in some ways, this variable is local. It's local to this PHP file. After we declare this variable, and in this case we declared it and then we initialized it with the string here, it will be available to us anywhere after this point, after this line 5 here in our PHP file. So we could open up another PHP script down here and PHP, we can echo it again, or we can change it, or we could assign a new value to it, and it will still know where it is and what we're talking about because we declared it right up here. And that goes also if we had more HTML in here, if we had a table or something, and we could have 100 lines of HTML between these PHP scripts, and it will still know exactly what we're talking about. And we also learned that when we create a function, that variable will not be available to this function. The function will only have access to its own variables. It will not have access to any other variables that we created. Without using the global keyword, we can go global my variable, and then after this line it will know what we're talking about from line 5 here. And the other way we could have done this is pass in a variable as a parameter, and then when we call our function, my function, and then pass in my variable to that parameter, that would have worked fine as well. And then after that, after we call our function here, our function will have access to that variable using its own parameter there, so echo var, because my variable will then become this function's var. I should say this function's var will be a version of whatever we pass to it as a parameter. So we learned a little bit about that. The next thing we need to learn about is super global variables. And as the name suggests, it's like a global variable, except it's super, it's better. It's super global variables are not only available anywhere in your PHP file, but it's also available to your functions. It's available anywhere you write PHP. And so we could use, if we had a super global variable, and the first one we're going to learn about is post. This variable post kind of looks like this, and it's an array. We haven't really learned about arrays yet. That's okay. Anytime you see square brackets like this, you're dealing with potentially more than one piece of data inside of it. So instead of maybe post equaling hello, it might equal hello and goodbye and welcome back, and a bunch of other strings kind of listed in an array. And the way a post super global variable works is anytime we type post just like this, $ underscore all capitals, this variable will be accessible. What's in the variable is another story which we'll learn about as we go. But this variable will be available not only in our PHP file, but also we could go down to our function and we could echo post whatever, and there's something inside of here which we'll access with a I usually just use single quotation marks, but you can also use double quotation marks, and there's some data in there. And so this, and we could echo this, and I'll just keep this the same just to avoid confusion here. But let's say this is post some data up here, and we echoed that out, and that will work fine. And then we can go into this function and do the same thing without using any global keywords, and it's automatically going to know exactly what we're talking about. So super global variables are always going to be accessible in anywhere you write PHP. So, and don't worry about what post does right now. I'm gonna explain that right now. So if you're kind of lost, don't worry about that. Just kind of keep in mind that the fact that there are certain super global variables that are built into PHP, and all that means is they're available anywhere in your script. So let's erase our function here, and right now let's go ahead and make a form. So we'll go. So we're going to do that right in our HTML here. This is still in our PHP file, test.php, but we're not opening or closing any PHP tags right now. We're just adding regular HTML. So let's go form method post action, and for the action of this form we're going to use itself. So we'll just put test.php. Close that form off. Input type text, and the real important thing here is the name attribute here for the input tag. The name is what's going to, you can put whatever name you want, but this is going to correspond to our PHP script. So pick a name that's descriptive, and it does matter. Case sensitivity does matter. So if you use small letters, you'll have to, if you use small letters and capital somewhere else, you're going to have to keep that the same when you access that in your PHP script, which we'll look at. So let's do name, user name input, and we'll do another input. We'll just keep this plain text, name, password input, and we'll also need a submit button. Let's do value submit, and that's just what is displayed on our button. Name, login, submit login. Okay, so let's take a look at this and see if we got it right here. Okay, so here's our form. We have two text fields here. The first one on the left will be our username. The one on the right will be our password and our submit button. We can click our submit button right now. Nothing happens except for the page is reloaded because we didn't write any PHP script to tell it to do anything. So that's why nothing's happening, and we're gonna go ahead and change that right now. So let's underneath our form we can open up a PHP script, and let's add a variable here, and we'll name it username, and we're going to set this variable to our super global post, and inside the square brackets use your single quotation marks, and you're going to put the name of your input text field, which in our case is username input. And remember, it is case sensitive. Username input. And let's make a password. And again, we're going to post password input. Okay, so after this, we'll just go ahead and echo username. Okay, so let's